In the 1870s, before this artwork was made, it was very popular to pose horses in paintings in mid-stride. This pose is also known as flying gallop. This convention first became popular in paintings such as the one on the screen right now, and it's called Derby at Epsom.
The piece of artwork Horse in Motion was first commissioned by a man named Leland Stanford, who also happened to be the former governor of California. He asked a man named Edward Muybridge, who had previously taken pictures of his house, to prove that a horse left all four of its legs off the ground when running.
Stanford's hypothesis of a horse having no legs on the ground when running is called unsupported transit.
Muybridge grew up in London, and he always wanted to make something more of his life, so he turned to photography as an outlet for his creative interests.
After being hired by Stanford, Muybridge ended up experimenting with many different camera systems, and he ended up making a series of photographs at Stanford's Palo Alto track, and he used a battery of 12 cameras equipped with a stereoscopic lens.
The art is done in a silhouette against a white grid marked by consecutively numbered segments in uniform size. The work is a letter of 12 photographs, and the photographs should be read left to right, and they show that they are indeed moments when a horse has all four of its hooves off of the ground. And also, it shows when the horse is mid in the ground, and it shows that the horse has completed the sense of actively running.
Shockingly, Sally is completely still in the final image. This would have been impossible because Sally would have had to have been running 200 miles per hour between the last two images, and horses can only run between 45 to 50 miles per hour. Many people speculate that Muybridge must have had to have added a different image from a different sequence of photographs to complete this work.
The piece Horse in Motion was a style of photography called the cabinet card, which was a style of photograph which was widely used for photographic portraiture after 1870. It was basically a thin photograph mounted on a card that was typically measured 108 by 165 millimeters. On the screen is an example of this type of photography. Fun fact that we like to learning about Muybridge that you probably did not see coming is he was actually convicted of murdering his wife's lover. Scandalous, if you ask me. Later got acquitted for the crime. I guess you could say, why did the painting go to jail? Because it was framed.
This whole process ended up proving that Stanford's theory was actually true, so he was really happy about that.
People saw Muybridge's photos, and they were immediately and enthusiastically published in many magazines and newspapers worldwide. People were impressed, and why wouldn't they be? They hadn't seen types of artwork like this in a long time, or ever.
Go break!
A toddler was recently hospitalized after swallowing several plastic horses. Doctors now describe his condition as stable.
People say horse girls are crazy, but I've always found them rather stable.
Okay. Back to the art.
After Stanford's hypothesis of unsupported transit did prove to be true, the flying gallop started to disappear from horse art and illustrations.
After this arc was created, many artists end up having heated debates, like Serena Williams and this umpire, about whether the flying gallop poses were better than Muybridge's photos, which many argued were somewhat awkward and a little weird. Something to note is that the original piece of artwork, Horse in Motion, was done against a tan background, but many recreations of it are done against a white background, which makes the black stand out even more and cause it to be more prevalent.
One of Edward's biggest goals was to really make a name for himself through his art, and we actually found a really moving quote from Edward, which is, "I'm going to make a name for myself. If I fail, you will never hear from me again. Edward Muybridge."
Muybridge not only proved Stanford's theory of unsupported transit, but he forever changed art. With his tinkering and his new inventions, that he created new photography methods and new technology that led to the first moving pictures, which really industrialized art at the time and created a whole new style of artwork that people built off of and grew ideas from.
So I guess you could say that Muybridge's dreams did come true, and his achievements will always be remembered in art.
I, Uma, personally believe that Muybridge's entire piece of artwork, Horse in Motion, was symbolic of a person's journey, and that when the horse finally came to a stop and completed his action of running, it was symbolic of somebody coming to the end of their journey.
Okay, Uma, I actually completely disagree with you, and I'm going to have to say that I don't think that this work is symbolic at all and that it was just some photographs to prove a theory. I think you're so wrong, actually.
I think it's up to the viewer to decide. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know. One work that you could compare this work to is The Last Judgment of Huneffer. While the works look really different on the outside, they're both narrative scenes, and they can be read left to right, and they both tell a story.
Both pieces of artwork also show a sense of movement and a sense of like starting something and coming to the end of something. Like in Huneffer, it's like coming to the end of life.
In contrast, in this artwork, this scene depicts the end of Sally's ride.
Like Ava said, both of these pieces of artworks are narrative art. And narrative art is art that tells a story, either as a moment in an ongoing story or a sequence of events that folds over time that usually has some sort of conclusion, end, and beginning.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys learned that you can achieve all your goals if you put it out just like Muybridge did.
Yeah, and Muybridge thought that he could do it, and he did it. So you too could be like Muybridge, and even though he literally murdered someone, like, he still ended up
Yes, just because
being
one bad
successful.
thing happens to you doesn't mean
So
that-
whatever you're going through, just remember that.
you can still achieve your dreams. You can still
Yeah,
achieve
just
your
like
goals.
Muybridge.
Not condoning going to jail though.
No.
But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, guys.
Bye.
Tried to repeat certain pictures as much as possible to show you guys like the progression of motion by the lack of transitions.